is going on, people? It is a day stream. What is my favorite book? That's. Do you want to narrow it down? Like fiction, nonfiction, or for what purpose? Like book for reading, or to use as a paperweight to hold a door open? Like, got to give me more parameters. Tech. I wouldn't say that I have any favorite like actual technology book. I mean, unless you count math. I guess math is technology. And then it's linear algebra done right. Yeah, they are. I'm wearing swimming trunks right now. Why? Because I want to feel like I'm out at the river going swimming when really I'm in my apartment in virus quarantine. I don't know. It's just what I had laying around. Quick thoughts on the game. I think Half-Life Alyx is really, really boring. There's no other way I could put it. Um, I, I don't personally recommend the game, but other people do. Like it's getting good reviews and stuff. So, don't let me dissuade you from checking it out if you think you might like the game. I think it is super boring. Do I know Samo Burya in person? Yes. Haven't seen him in a while. Not in a couple months, but yes. Do I not go outside at all? Yeah, I haven't gone outside since Saturday. But, oh, well, that's not technically true. So I live in an apartment building and, um, I go down to the mail room to get stuff. And that involves going outside around the side of the building. So in that sense, I've been outside. But no, I'm mostly staying inside again, for virus reasons. Like that said, Saturday I was outside, way out in the boonies, all day. Um, so have I tried using geometric algebra? I use geometric algebra for figuring out and understanding problems on paper. And okay, here's the thing. Even prior to actually remembering all the geometric algebra relations and stuff, there's a very, very useful concept, even within linear algebra, that will make you a much better problem solver. And it's this idea of, if you have two things in space, breaking them down into parallel and orthogonal components, right? So if you've got, for example, some vector and you've got like some other thing, right? There's a component of that thing that's parallel to the vector and a component that's orthogonal to the vector. And as soon as you start thinking about things that way, your problem solving power goes up a lot. And then geometric algebra is sort of a formalization of that in some sense, a systemization of it. I mostly use it though, yeah, doing math on paper kind of stuff. I don't do GA in code usually. Do I know Jim Keller in person? Yeah, I mean, I met him a couple weeks ago for the first time and hung out with him for a few days. Have I shared my programming language with him and gotten his thoughts from a CPU design perspective? No. That might be an interesting conversation to have sometime, but we haven't had that. Do I think the recent explosion of COVID-19 cases could have been prevented? Yes. I was trying to get people to take it seriously on like forums and stuff from the end of January, and everybody was like, everybody had a very like, it can't happen here kind of attitude. And I was telling people like, look at what frickin' China is doing. They're locking people in their houses already at the end of January. Like, why would you think this is not serious? Like, why do you think, what does China know that you don't know that's causing you not to take this seriously? And just nobody cared. Nobody cared until shit got real over here. So, favorite piece of fruit? Wow. Like a good mango is pretty good. Um, I don't know. Fruit in America really sucks. Here's the thing. Any fruit that you can usually get in like a grocery store in the United States was picked when it was really, really unripe, and and let to ripen sort of as it was being shipped or being prepped in the grocery store. And as a result, most fruit that you can get in the USA is kind of nasty and gross. And so I don't really buy fruit typically, um, for that reason. But yeah, if you go to like Thailand or somewhere, fruit's really good. What do I think of game design and random generation? It could be interesting, definitely. I may or may not have worked on some things related to that are unreleased. Can I talk about how do I approach a problem that's totally unfamiliar to me? That's way too general of a question. You would have to get more specific about what kind of problem, because I really have no context for even what kind of problem you might be talking about. So I can't answer the question. I can, however, drink more Earl Grey tea. So I will do that. The only good thing about living in Brazil is having good fruit easy. Yeah, I believe that. How do I think COVID will influence the world economics? And so I can't predict. Can't predict. Cannot predict. Okay, I'm going to actually program instead of doing random questions. So are there any on-topic technical questions? Am I familiar with how Golang performs escape analysis to put things on the heap? Not super much, but I'm entirely uninterested in that entire kind of methodology. Don't ever put anything on the heap unless I, the programmer, tell you to, period. Could I give a brief overview of how the transaction system works? No, I mean, I can't. I feel like I've done that before, but it was a while ago and I don't remember what the link would be. It might be on YouTube though, if you're interested. What's a transaction system? So transactions generally in computers are things that, each transaction consists of like multiple sub pieces, like set this variable and do this other thing and write this value out to disk or something, right? In this case, we're not talking about values out to disk. In this case, we're just only talking about operations on the game world. And a transaction means that all those operations have to happen all together or else none of them happen, right? So, an example of violated transactions might be like an item duplication bug, like you hear about in RPGs or something, right? So those things usually involve multiple steps. Like one step might be like, I'm going to pick up this sword on the ground, right? Well, the sword is in some inventory list of like, things in the world that are in a collision grid in a certain place or something, right? And the gameplay code says something like, okay, remove the sword from that stuff and then put the sword in the player's inventory, right? And if those two things don't happen atomically, like at the same time in a transaction, then you can get things where if two people try to pick up the sword at the same time, maybe they both get it, right? Because maybe it was put into the player's inventory first and then removed second, right? But after it was put into his inventory and before it was removed, somebody else called the same code, right? That put the sword into his inventory also. And then it was removed, and maybe it was double removed, which could like crash the game or something, right? So that is the kind of situation you get into if you're not transactional about things. And so this game is a puzzle game. And for puzzles to make sense, you have to not be able to violate the rules of the puzzle, which is why we have this transaction stuff happening. And then you replace that sword with bitcoins and get rich, maybe. How would you store vertex data that could change a lot frame to frame, but doesn't most of the time? In OpenGL terms, does it make sense to make a separate VBO for... I don't care about OpenGL. I don't know what the performance characteristics are of OpenGL. In fact, the answer to this question probably depends very specifically on your graphics API or even the hardware behind it. So like I can't answer this question. This question only really makes sense if you're saying on the PlayStation 4 or whatever, right? And in the abstract, it doesn't have an answer because the answer is different depending on where you go. Will this language have a good metaprogramming system? That's what it mostly is. It's all about metaprogramming. Did the game always have a transaction system? No, this is something that was added around November as my final effort to make player movement good, and it seems to be working out. So before this transaction system was added, it was a lot looser in the way that it behaved, and I was hoping that I could make that work out, but it obviously was a bad idea. So here we are. Okay, let's start programming. So I want to start doing the next step, which is that when players turn, right? So let's start up a level here. Get it in RAM. So, I've got my little red guy here. And, as he goes from square to square, he turns around and changes his facing direction. So as he does that, right now that's not in a transaction, which means, so he could do two things at once. So here I'm going to turn left and push the block. So it's going to change the facing direction of the character and move the block one to the left, right? Boom. See that? Those things have to happen together or else the game is broken for some levels. Now the problem is right now the turning is not handled by the transaction system, but the pushing is, and that's not good. So we need to change that, is all I'm saying. What exactly is a transaction system? I literally answered that 4 minutes ago, and you came in just after. Sorry. But I want to sink this stone by pushing it against this other stone. Boom. All right. Super choppy when the game is running. Yeah, I don't know what the deal with that is. Sorry. Ever since I did this new computer, it just sucks at at video capture. I don't know what's going on. It's a 2080 Ti. Maybe I just have to reinstall OBS with default settings and see what happens. It shouldn't be too bad anyway, because we're going to be mostly programming. But yeah, sorry about the choppy frame rate in the game. Maybe next time I start up a stream, someone can remind me to try that. You know what? Okay, wait. Is it really smooth right now for everybody? Like, if you look at the particles in the background, that's pretty smooth, right? Like, it almost seems to me like it's just OBS being in the background. Like, did it just get less smooth now? Like, when I put the window in the background, is it less smooth or is it just as smooth? It's not smooth now. I think that's just OBS. Is it back? Is it back? Okay, yeah, no, this is just OBS being in the background for some reason. All right. Yeah, maybe it's a thread priority thing. Okay, I wanted to program, but let's try to solve this, I guess. Let me see what we're doing in the game for thread priority. Like, it's so weird. This is a 16 core CPU or something. Like, we just shouldn't be having these problems. But let's take a look. So we have well, bananas. Okay, that's not priority. No. Thread. Let's look in modules. Set thread priority. Nobody seems to call that. There's a setting in OBS for game capture that you have to enable for it to not be choppy when a game window is primary. Like, what? Is that a new thing? Because I've streamed forever without that being a problem. I mean, we didn't have any problems with Half-Life Alyx, right? Oh, it could be process priority. No. Advanced. Process priority high. I don't know if that's going to help without me restarting OBS. Why would it start at normal priority? Like, how stupid is that? Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm running the game. OBS is still in front. We're going to put the game in front. Nope, OBS stopped. Okay, guys. It's likely the encoder. Like, it was able to handle... No, it's not the encoder. It literally stops when the window goes in the background now. Have to add the game window as a source, as a game window capture instead of just screen capture. All right, let's try that. But we need screen capture for programming, so that's not going to work, honestly. That is not going to work. So is it maybe just that the canvas size... No, it's 1080. I don't know, guys.